So I really wanted to take a moment to talk about this because so many entrepreneurs and even ministers, I'm in both worlds, so I know it's happening in the marketplace and in the ministry, but so many people that fit the criteria of an entrepreneur and or a minister try to do everything that they know in their heart that they need to do and want to do, have a passion and a purpose to do. But the problem is they try to do it by themselves, with themselves, and it ain't really for themselves, but you just cannot accomplish the things that God has given to you by yourself and with yourself. Let me explain to you why I say that. Number one, because if God is giving you a purpose and there's a passion with that purpose, it's so big, you know that it cannot get accomplished just by you and just with you. So it's going to require people, not necessarily systems and processes, because that plays a role. But even when you integrate systems and processes to establish an organization, to solidify what your purpose and your passion is, the systems and processes have to work for people, because it will be people, just like what you see in the world today. All of the technology, all of the automated systems and processes that we see that seem to be taking over for humans, well, there are still humans behind those systems and processes, those technological platforms, to make sure that the algorithms are working right, to make sure that there are no glitches, or when there are glitches, they're fixing it. And so my biggest point for you today is to understand, even if you're not a entrepreneur and a minister, you might just be the leader of your household. You might just be the one in your family that God intends to use to really break the cycle of poverty and to move the limitations off of your family and off of those who are connected to you. Well, you gotta work with people and you gotta put yourself in play. How do you put yourself in play? Well, you have to find people. I mentioned this yesterday on my show when I was talking about the mastermind, and that this concept of a mastermind is not just you going to an event, but the concept of a mastermind is you putting yourself in play, in a position to master the things you know that are on your mind, whether it's business, whether it's ministry. It could be other areas. For me, it's always business and ministry, because that's what my purpose in life is. That's what my passion is. But everybody that I come into contact with, even if they don't have a purpose or a passion for business or ministry, they want the benefits of both. Think about it. Most people you come into contact with, even if they're not called to business, even if they're not called to ministry, to some extent, they want the benefit of business and ministry. Well, if you want a job, somebody has to have a business. If you need prayer, if you need support, if you need something for your family from a social or spiritual perspective, somebody has to have a ministry. So you're either creating the benefits or you're benefiting from what someone has created. Either way, it's going to require people. So I want to challenge you today to think of the things that you want to accomplish, whether it's in your finances, whether it's in your career, whether it's in your business or ministry, or maybe it's all of the above. Especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, if you are the leader of your family and your financial success weighs heavily on everybody else, you gotta connect with people. You gotta put yourself in play. And that's the part of a mastermind. That's the part of a lifestyle that you're gonna create. And that's gonna require you making the decision. I know for me, in ministry, it was easy for me to understand, because I'd always been around ministry from the time I got saved all the way up until now. I've always been around ministry. I went right from the streets into the church, and it was just like a natural transition for me. And having mentors in ministry, having leaders in ministry, being held accountable in ministry seemed to be second nature, because that's what you do when you're in church, when you're a part of the Christian community. But it took me a while to understand that the same principles actually apply in business The only difference is you don't just get to gravitate to people in business like you do ministry. Like, for example, my pastor, my spiritual father, spiritual mother, my covering, they automatically going to provide this for you, whether you do everything right or not, because that's a part of their purpose and passion. Well, in business, it don't work that way. If a business owner is successful, if they're doing great things in their organizations, they're making money, and they got people who are willing to pay for their coaching, for their mentoring, for their services, unfortunately, they're not going to just take all that valuable time, because that's what's most valuable to them, and just disperse it to people who are unwilling to even pay the cost of entry, when they don't even value the time of that entrepreneur. They don't even value the skill set of that entrepreneur, especially when they got a whole group of people over here that's willing to pay whatever they need to pay just to get access. So if you come from that world, don't be offended or uncomfortable because you have to pay to get access. Your perspective should be, I need people. I need people who's further than me. I need people who understand these things more than me. I need people who can cut my time in half, and many times not just in half, but almost eliminate the time, the length that it would take for me to accomplish something if they were not in my life. That's worth way more than whatever the price is that you will pay to get that access, to get that information, to get that support. So that's what I challenge you to do today, especially if you don't come from the world of understanding that. Being able to pay to get access, being able to invest in yourself so that you can have people around you. Because at some point, if you want people working with you, if you want people working for you, if you want to deploy those types of relationships, it's going to require the same investment of money and resources and time and effort and commitment and faith that it would for you to get it at this point, so that you can move forward and then be a blessing to benefit someone else.